folks, grab a seat and pour your drink neat as Whiskers and Whiskeys presents Tales of the Trophies, the SEC's greatest rivalry. What's up, folks? How we doing? EJ, how are you, bud?
I'm doing wonderful. Genuinely.
Wonderful.
This is probably
Genuinely.
one of the better Mondays I've had. This is
Oh,
so
nice.
spoiler alert, we're recording this on a Monday for you guys. But yeah, I don't know. It's just some most Mondays are just kind of a slug, um, get the bad taste of
Yeah.
football betting and your team being terrible
Mm-hmm.
on the weekend. And usually that
Yeah.
carries over to Mondays, but I don't know. At this current moment, I think it's probably because I'm excited about this episode, but I feel
No,
pretty
there you
good.
go. You've chosen to rise above your circumstances.
Yes, I think so.
Honorable.
How are you doing?
Shitty. Thanks for asking. It was I was up late watching that game. I had
I fell asleep. I didn't watch any of it.
I had a touchdown score parlay for Pickens and Fryermuth, and Pickens scored early. And I'm like, great. Like that's bodes really well because it's
Yeah.
National Tight End Day. Like Fryermuth is like, a lock in the, when you get down to the goal line, Pat Fryermuth's a good target as any. And no one scored in the second half. I
No.
even thought about taking the second half under and total game under at halftime. And I didn't because I took a shower at halftime and just didn't have time. I kind of forgot about it. And I was like, I have enough lost bets. Like, who knows? Maybe they'll get it on track. But
Yeah.
no, they didn't. No one else scored. And it was
No.
miserable.
Yeah.
So so that sucked. So I was really tired. It was just a lot of like meetings today and random stuff coming up. So yeah, that's me. But you know what? I am excited for this episode. We're talking about a great rivalry, a great trophy. I don't know. I've not seen this one, and
Oh boy.
one of my favorite activities in the world, tailgating.
Oh, I thought it was cocktails. Cocktailing.
Cocktailing. Yeah. I mean, I did also a great movie, I wish I could do that stuff that Tom Cruise does in Cocktails.
Sure.
Yeah. Cocktails and
Um,
dreams.
all right, guys. So we are talking today about the world's largest outdoor cocktail party,
We are.
which is the annual rivalry game between the Florida Gators and the Georgia Bulldogs. So, as we were looking and trying to think through a drink for this, I will say one, unfortunately, there isn't a branded cocktail for this party.
Surprising.
I think that that's a big missed opportunity.
Four Loco, probably at one point.
Right.
Like original Four Loco.
Yeah.
Which
and
also
organically,
if you want my prediction of what the trophy looks like, it's just a giant original Four Loco.
yes. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, don't have one. So Mike and we kind of teased it last episode, but this is going to be a special presentation. This is a
Yes.
Whiskers and Whiskeys special presentation where we
Indeed.
are going to dive into tailgating. And so we decided, as we were thinking through a cocktail, what would be a good tailgate cocktail involving whiskey, because you have your classics, especially with a Bloody Mary, right? That's like a tried and true tailgate cocktail, and usually have that one person that that has like the secret recipe, and you want it spicy. It's always the guy that's always like, it has to be spicy, right?
It's just Zing Zang mix. That's all it is. that I mean, if you are making a cocktail with anything other than Zing Zang, like, I don't know what to tell you, bud. Like that, right. They figured it out. They cracked the code on the Bloody Mary. That's for damn sure.
So we, it was kind of funny because I feel like we barely talked about it, but we both just kind of came into like instant agreement on this. And I can honestly say I've never had this at a tailgate, but I think it should be. It's a very relatively easy thing to make. And I think it's going to do the job, but I don't even know if it doesn't really officially have a name. So I was kind of surprised. I mean, people kind of referred to it as like a spiked Arnold Palmer,
Mm-hmm.
or as Mike affectionately called it, a diabetic John Daly. But today we are going to do our own mix of sweet tea. So it's,
Mm-hmm.
and actually, when you think about this, and I thought about this after we talked about it, and it just kind of fits perfectly with what we're saying. So, sweet tea, usually, actually, not usually, it is associated with the South. I will
Yes.
argue that Georgia is a big part. There's a big sweet tea culture in Georgia, right? Like
There's
tea
yes.
is just sweet. Like you don't
Yes.
get plain tea there,
No.
right?
No.
So when you combine the sweet tea of Georgia with the citrusy, and you weren't on that episode with the Florida episode, but lemons are a very popular, even though obviously oranges are what Florida is known for. They do a lot of other citruses
Oh
in
yeah.
Florida.
Oh, I'm aware. I'm aware. Yes.
So adding the Florida lemons with the Georgia sweet tea, and then of course if it's whiskers and whiskeys, you gotta add the whiskey there.
Gotta have the whiskey there.
So there you go, guys. We have our sweet tea, lemonade, whiskey, whatever you want to call it, a spiked Arnold Palmer, a diabetic John Daly. I threw out
What was
there,
the name you said? Yeah.
I said whiskers and whiskey Southern Charm, or like a 2 dub
I
Southern
love it.
Charm, just
I love it.
something here.
Yeah.
As far as putting it together, you know, what I did was I filled an entire glass full of, you know, the mixture of lemonade and sweet tea. And then because I had so much liquid in there, I added 2 shots, and it's a tailgate, right?
Oh
Because you're
yeah.
probably not going to add 1 shot at a tailgate,
No,
right?
no, no. The pour with love. Pour with
That
love at the
that's
tailgate.
that's our recipe is you pour with love with all of your ingredients. If you
Oh
want to
yeah.
do more whiskey than the rest of the two, have at it.
I'm a big when I make my like a homemade Ernie Palmy,
I
I
was just
am
gonna ask you.
way more lemonade than tea.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
See,
I
I
just
think I'm a more like 60-40
oh
tea. I was gonna ask you,
no,
60-40
I'm
tea.
like I'm like 70-30 lemonade to tea. Like I just want like just this like a splash of tea. I'm a big lemonade guy. I actually just bought a 4 mini pack of lemonade the other week, and Karen and I were sitting around looking at each other last night, and she's like, I wish we had more lemonade. And I'm like, I almost bought some today. Like you know, every time I go past that section of the grocery store, I stop because there's the Newman Zone. I love Paul Newman, so you know, big
Okay.
Newman Zones, and
Okay.
then the Minute Maid or whoever makes the little tiny or Tropicana
Yeah.
makes little tiny ones, like
Yeah.
8-ounce bottles. So
I will say my lemonade is just like a Food Lion brand. I forgot about it when we went to Wegmans. Wegmans probably had like a real good lemonade, right, that you can get. So I think it would be better if this was a real lemonade. But
you know what's a great lemonade that if you get it, you probably get. I'm sure you can get it at Wegmans. Santa Cruz. The only
okay.
drawback is it's a glass bottle. So it
Oh,
looks like the old Gatorade bottles, you know,
okay.
like when Gatorade used to come in a glass bottle, it looks like
Yeah.
that. Santa Cruz. Yeah, very good lemonade.
Okay.
Very good lemonade. I'm gonna buy that next time we go to the store. It's in the organic section. So
So I just
yeah.
picture you in like you always see those pictures or videos, I guess, depending, of the mimosas, and it's always like someone that fills an entire champagne glass full of or glass full of champagne and then does the little drips of
Yep.
orange juice to make it a
Yep.
mimosa. I'm
Yep.
picturing you doing that as an Arnold Palmer, right?
I
You
get
just
like an eyedropper out. I get a little
right,
eyedropper
just
and
a little
just,
tea.
just a little tea.
So is that just I guess another segue to your life? I'm sorry if you don't want this out there, but Michael is from the land of Arnold Palmer.
Yes.
Is this a Latrobe? Is that how he had it? Was he a 50-50 guy? Do we
No, I
know?
think he's pretty much a 50-50. I mean, we
50-50.
can go back and check the tape because there is that ESPN commercial where he pours
Oh,
it.
that's right.
Yeah,
I
yeah, we
think
can
he
go back
does
and check the tape.
3, doesn't he? I distinctly remember because it's like Butchergross or someone that's watching him, right? And they're like,
Yeah,
"What a pro!" Because I think he
yeah.
goes 1, 2,
And then he goes
1
back to
back.
one more. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think he
yeah.
does 4. I think he does
So
3.
I will do that too. I'll do lemonade as a base, and
Okay.
then I'll do my iced tea, and then like if I'm at a restaurant, and I
Yeah.
will drink some,
Yeah.
and I will like I used to do this in college, right? And you get like the like the Coke, just like a Coke, the cup, like the waxy ones, like to go cup, like at a
Oh,
restaurant,
okay.
like
Okay.
just standard,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, like a Coke cup,
To,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a standard cup to go,
Yes.
not
Yes.
like a
Why does
glass
it have to
cup.
be? Yeah. Okay.
Well, because it's branded with Coke, like that's the one, it has Coca-Cola on the outside. And so like if we were eating at our place that has takeout, not like the mess hall, because the mess hall has glass, I would make it, and then on the way out, I would fill it up with lemonade. Like I would probably drink half of it and then fill the rest with lemonade on my way out.
Yeah.
And then maybe like a splash of tea and then go back for the lemonade. Like that's yeah. So yeah. Yeah.
The more you know, there, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then, in honor of our largest outdoor cocktail party, we have our boozy Arnold Palmer, our Southern Charm.
Two dub
So
Southern Charm. There you
two
go.
dub Southern Charm. Cheers.
Mm-hmm. Cheers to you.
Oh boy. Okay, so on to pick 'em with the boys. Uh, yeah, so I went 0 for 3 again.
Again.
I killed 3 quarterbacks in the process. So I this is going to be like my kind of rant of the week here, and
I don't
maybe this
want you to
is
bet on Alabama. Just I'm afraid.
just because like I think I'm just going to get all my frustrations out this year, and I know this just sounds like a terrible gambler addict. Like this is going to sound like a rant from him, but I don't care. I hate when you can be on the right side of the bet but lose it. So what I mean by that is, and I know this is like blah, 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 I don't care. I had UAB plus 3.5, and they
Mm-hmm.
were winning. And I
Mm-hmm.
was on the right side of that. Things
Yep.
were just looking great. And the
Yep.
quarterback dies.
Yep.
And then, of course, because he dies, they end up losing by 3, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
course. So fast forward to another game, Kansas State. Adrian Martinez, starting quarterback, dies in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Screwed. Nope. The backup leads them to a 28-17 lead at halftime, right? Looking good to cover the was it like 7 that they were no, it was 3.5 again, right? It was
Yeah.
3.5,
Three and a
3.5.
half. Yep.
So
Yep.
3.5
Yep.
still looking good. They're up 11, right? And the
Yeah.
offense is looking great. TCU is just exhausted from the gauntlet that they had. Third quarter starts, second string guy dies. So it's just like, what am I supposed to do here? Like I was on, and of course they lose by 10. I hate when you feel like you're on the right side, or you're on the right side of the pick, but something happens in the
Yeah.
game. And I know,
Yeah.
like, well, that's how things go. Blah, blah, blah. It's just so frustrating because there's
Oh yeah.
sometimes you're just off, right? You
Oh
have a
yeah.
bad read on a game, Navy, off. Bad read, wasn't going to happen, but it's nothing worse than like you're feeling great about it. Or even you can probably make this argument. I didn't get to watch the game, but I felt like I heard from multiple people that Texas just blew it against Oklahoma State. You
They
just
did.
were feeling
They
great.
did.
And then, you're on the right side of it and something happens and it's just gone.
Yeah. I mean, Texas is definitely different. They were in absolute control of that game. I mean, they were in absolute control, and then they just blew it. I mean, I don't think Quinn Ewers, like, he did not play well. He went like 16 for 47 or something like that. It was terrible performance by him. And yeah, like he looked scared. He looked terrified. And yeah, they blew it, man. And so that sucked because I was like, because you said it, you said I was flying close to the sun with Texas, and then a bunch of the people in the pick'em took the Cowboys. And I'm like, okay, hook them, let's go. All right, all right, all right. And then
Yeah.
yes, I don't know what happened, but there is, like, to your point, there's nothing worse than like betting on someone and then they just get it. Like gosh, who got injured the other week just right at the start of the game? Yeah, I mean it's just a catastrophe sometimes. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough, man.
Yeah. It's just it can be so frustrating. And what I was trying to find it. I saw it one time, and the Detroit sports radio guys talked about it, but I saw it on Instagram, and I should have just sent it to you, even if it was just to like have it archived. I couldn't find it again, but there's a meme out there, and it's a person like looking into like passionately pointing at themselves in a mirror, and the meme says like you're not bad at betting. The players are bad at playing. And I
Yeah.
couldn't have felt that more this
Yeah.
weekend. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't me, it was these stupid players. Ugh, frustrating.
Yeah, man.
But why don't you update us on where we're at with our competition? Because we're coming down to the wire here now. It's
We
the
are. We
winding
are.
weeks.
So you and Chris are bring up the rear with 3 wins each, and not far behind you, or not far ahead of you, is Joe and Jimmy with 4 wins each. Then when we look to the top 3, so Nick has 8, and then Nathan is in the lead with 11 and a half, and I'm right behind him with 11. So that push from the TCU game, which we all watched together,
Yes.
I said that's a push. That's all good. We love that.
Yeah.
He's that is keeping him ahead. So it was a 2-1 week for me and a 2-1 week for him too. So I missed on obviously Texas, and boy, a lot of people he took Ole Miss. Jimmy took Ole Miss. There's a lot of like crossover in our picks. A couple people took Cuse. I took Cuse.
This
Obviously.
Yeah, this I will say this. I feel like this stands pretty like right. Like I think this has stood the test of this season. I don't think there's a team that's good enough to go on the road and beat a ranked team. Like if you think about it, we have all these teams. So like UCLA, fantastic, has beaten really good teams at home. Couldn't go to Eugene, right? It'll be interesting to see when the Ducks have to travel to Utah. What happens? I can guess what's going to happen, right? Road Bo Nix. You just have all these teams. Like I guess maybe Georgia, but we have to. Oh, I guess they're going to get Tennessee at home. But it's like, can Tennessee beat someone on the road?
Yeah,
they're going to have a chance, but I doubt it. So it's just like it's one of those years where you can almost. I mean, obviously, depending on the spread, bet that the road team, even if they're ranked, there's road teams that are struggling to beat unranked teams like at home. So are on the road. So it's just one of those years where it's I don't know that there's really that spectacular team. Like it could be Georgia. Got to see them play again. They haven't played anyone in 3 months. So it'll be interesting. But it's been quite
I
the.
think it's gonna be a wild November. Like I think that this might be a like this weekend coming up might be a bit of a crazy one. We got quite a slate set up here, and I think it's gonna be a pretty wild
we got a couple of trophies. We got this largest world's largest outdoor cocktail party. We have the battle for the beer barrel, even though it's not in circulation.
Well,
it should
EJ,
bring it back.
EJ, we're gonna test your theory about teams going on the road here, because we've got a couple games that kind of fall into that category. So we've got on this Saturday, we've got actually, let's start with Thursday. Utah goes to Washington State on Thursday night.
What's the spread? That's
8. Utah favored by
8. That's probably almost an auto play for me at this point. Like
I might
especially
take that one too.
Pullman, forget about it. Pullman this time of year. Check the weather. I don't know.
Yeah. Halloween weekend too.
Right.
Things are getting spooky. It might be a spooky weekend. So this is what we got. So there's that one.
Yeah.
Ohio State goes to Penn State. It's a noon game. Penn State's coming off homecoming emotional. So I feel like that one, and Ohio State's favored by 15.5. I feel like that one's going to be
that has probably the best chance at, well, not, they're going to win, but like at covering. I will say though, Penn State plays Ohio State tough at home.
It'll
be a whiteout, right? Like
for a minute there, it looked like Iowa was going to cover this weekend.
Right.
They were giving them a tough time, and then until they weren't. But hey, well, here you go. Saturday at noon, TCU, number 7 TCU goes to West Virginia.
That's kind of scary to me. I know West Virginia because JT Daniels, baby, and TCU's luck's running out. Like they gauntlet after gauntlet after gauntlet. So now you have slinging JT Daniels.
And I've been to Morgantown for Halloween. It's an atmosphere. It's an atmosphere.
Yeah.
Those girls dress up like it's Halloween normal days. You should see it on Halloween weekend.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oregon goes to Cal. Like I don't know. I don't know. Like that could just be like they got up so much
Yes.
and now they go to Cal
What's the spread like, or what's
17.
the? I mean,
Uh
Cal's not any good, but can I guarantee you Oregon's going to cover that? No,
yeah.
it's because you're right, because they just had a big emotional win.
Uh, Oklahoma State goes to Kansas State.
Nope. Oh, it depends on Martinez. If he
Well,
plays, no chance.
K State's favored by 1.5 right now. That'll
Okay.
be an interesting line to watch.
Yeah.
Wake Forest goes to Louisville.
I
I'm just gonna
mean,
keep bringing them up. This is just the top 25.
yeah.
Illinois goes to Nebraska.
I can't
Cincinnati
guarantee
goes to
that.
UCF.
Who's in
Let's
the top
see.
25 there? Cincy?
Yeah, they're 20.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, here's one. This is USC goes to Arizona.
What's the number?
15.
See, doesn't that sound suspicious?
It does. It does sound suspicious.
Right? Because your initial thought is like 28, right? Not 15.
Yeah. The last one, Ole Miss goes to College Station.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, that's one where they're coming off this loss. They have to now go again on the road to a place that's a pain in the ass, no matter how bad the team is.
Yeah, they're favored by 2.5 right now. I know this is going to be a spooky Saturday. A lot of, as you, but it's going to test what you said.
Yeah,
you know what, guys? A lot of ranked teams on the road, like very good teams on the road.
My picks are going to come. I'm just going to say it. I have nothing to lose at this point. My picks are going to come from that stretch that you just said. I'm going to pick from. I'm going to test it. I'm not going to just pick every one. Right? I have 3 to pick. I will definitely pick from those home dogs. I'm gonna take 3 home dogs.
I might do a little parlay of all those games. I just
all of them together.
Well, like for like $5, you know, and just see what happens. You know, just like. See what happens. Even better, I might tease it for $10 and just see what happens because it could be a very spooky weekend.
So. Yes, I hope it's spooky enough for a huge road dog to go into their rivals that are about an hour and a half south of them and cover.
Yeah. I didn't say. Oh yeah, yeah.
Can we just cover, guys? Can we not, have our pants pulled down? That'd be nice.
Sparty visits the whore and is getting 22. So
yeah, night game too. It's I think only the second or third time it's that game's been played at night. I personally think it's awesome. I know this
was the last
big
time?
noon. No, they reversed it.
No, I mean was the last time they played at night trouble with the snap?
Actually, it might have been.
The anniversary of that was this past weekend.
Yeah, I can't remember if that was a 3:30 that ended at night, It definitely ended at night, but I don't know if it started at 3:30 or if it started at 7. I don't remember. Gotcha. I don't know. The Fox one, that's going to change now with the new contract with the Big Ten, but like Fox's big noon kickoff is like the best game. Okay, go fuck yourselves. All right. Like 7:00 under the lights. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, son. Like that's the prime time, not the big noon kickoff. Yeah. Like no, that's not it. Okay, so why don't we transition here to our special? So this is what we're going to do different here, guys. We're going to really dive in. We're going to do a Whiskers and Whiskeys tailgate special here in honor of the rivalry we are talking about. So we are going to break down some key elements of a tailgate and just kind of our perspective, our experiences, our tips, the things that we've done well, not done well, liked, not liked, things we haven't tried but we want to, et cetera, et cetera. We're just going to break down a tailgate. So why don't we start off? Oh, go ahead. What are you
format wise? Are we thinking that we start with like our pick of like the best thing, and then we get into like the honorable mentions? Because like that's what I was thinking, is that like we have 5 categories, right?
Yes.
So the categories are drink, food, games, miscellaneous item, and pro move. So I was thinking that we go and we each name our best. We can't double up, right? And then we can discuss what like honorable mentions are, some other like caveats, but like this is to like the thought is of like a tailgate, like what is your signature move at a tailgate? Because when you're tailgating, there's some things that you just are like, this is the best thing to have at a tailgate. Like if I don't have this, and like I think each of these categories are critical. They all play into like a key aspect of a tailgate here.
Sure.
And it's a methodology, right? There's a methodology here. If you want to have a successful time tailgating, and like you can go and just tailgate, and just like have like a simple tailgate before a game, but like if you're at like an event, like this is what I'm making sure we have in each of these categories.
I'm going to make an argument here that there is no such thing as just like a tailgate before an event. Like,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to football, like you get 17 games a year, right? In the NFL, you get 13 games or 12
Yeah.
games in college, right? Like, you only got so much time a year. It's not like
Yeah.
baseball where you got like, a million freaking games, or hockey and basketball, you have 90 million games. Like football tailgates, I think every tailgate should be special. And
Yeah.
if you're not
Yeah.
doing it special, I mean, I'm just going to tell you, you're probably not doing tailgating right.
Probably not. Probably not. I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, so we want to kick it off here with the first category,
Yeah, let's
the
do it.
drink.
Yes.
All right. Do you want to go first, naming what is your go-to drink
Yeah.
at
Uh,
tailgate?
I'm simple, and we can pose this question out there. I mean, I can pose it to you, I guess. I'm just a beer guy, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. I've had plenty of times where if there's a cocktail, usually it's not a cocktail. Usually it's I'm not much of a mixed drink guy in
Right. Right.
general.
Yeah.
I will gladly rip some shots. But usually I'm a tailgate beer guy, and usually I just stick to something really easy to drink so I can get as many in as possible. My preferred one is Stroh's. It's
Yeah.
it's just a heavenly pilsner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Comes from Detroit, but it's also just a step above a Bud Light and a Miller Light, without getting too gourmet-y like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
Stella, right? But it's
Yeah.
a good, solid, drinkable, taste good
Yeah.
beer.
Yeah.
That's
Bohemian style. Yeah, it's good stuff.
that's my go-to.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, well, I mean, just to kind of expound on the point a little bit. I mean, I agree. Like when it comes to tailgating, I know the way is it liquor before beer, you're in the clear, beer before like I disagree. I think that you need to, if you're pounding liquor all tailgate long, you're gonna have a problem, right? Me, if the weather allows for it, I would love, like if it's a baseball game, like Natter days, I love having it. If not, like Natty Light, Miller Lite, Stroh's if it's available, like that's a great option. Um, but if I'm going to a tailgate, especially if it's a colder tailgate, right? It doesn't have to be. It doesn't
Maybe
have to
like
be.
opening day,
Right.
maybe.
Opening day could get cold, right? So like I've been to plenty of opening days where it was snowing and freezing. Uh I'm going with peppermint patty. I'm getting a bottle of Rumpelmans or Ice 101, just peppermint schnapps, and I'm getting a bottle of Hershey syrup, and I'm waiting on it. I'm not like drinking it, all tailgate long. But when we got
Oh,
about an hour till it's time to go into the stadium, maybe an hour and a half before it's time, I'm going in the truck. I'm pulling out the Ice 101. I'm pulling out that shot. I'm just holding up. Say who's first. Who's first, boys? And just because you just go, it's a nice social activity. You get the vibe going. Everyone's like taking it down. It's just a nice shot. We did that at the outdoor classic. It's great for outdoor classic hockey game. It's great for football. It's a delicious little shot that because you're having beer, you're feeling good about yourself, and then you get going with that. You are shaking your head the entire time that
yes.
I've been talking.
Because you have no idea about my Ice 101 stories, do you? I've
Uh
had
Vaguely.
I have
Like
had some
something's firing.
bad times with Ice 101. Lovely drink, and that's probably why I've had some bad times with it.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those drinks that you don't need a chaser for. Just like, yeah, I'm popping a mint in my mouth. It's
Well, yeah,
great.
you got the Hershey syrup. That's your chaser
Yeah,
there. Well,
yeah.
yeah.
or in some cases with some of our listeners that I know that are my friends, one of which is on our pick'em contest, milk is also something that they've chased it with before.
Chris chases it with milk. I mean, I know it's
Yes.
him. I assume like no one else is that
Him and our
deranged.
buddy Ryan. Yes, they
Oh
used to
God,
just chase it with milk. Yeah, I don't
milk
disagree
was a
with
bad
anything
choice.
you're saying. I will say I am, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I am a very friendly drunk. Like I am not an
Yeah,
angry drunk, and I've
no,
had
that's right.
two of my most angriest blackouts on Ice 101.
Really?
Yeah, to the point where I don't think my wife would honestly let me have it again.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
remember that. I'll remember that. I will
Yes.
keep you away from the Ice 101. Now I
Yes.
will say,
It's
something that a
lovely.
lot of some oh
Lovely.
yeah, yeah. Something that a lot of people do. You always have that one guy that brings like a handle of Jim Beam, right?
Yeah.
And you pass the Jim Beam around, and like one year at opening day, we did beam spit, so like just you take a swig of it and then you do the Triple H, when Triple H used to spit the water out, you do that with we cracked in the Jim Beam like 3 hours before first pitch because
Yeah.
it was one of those days where it was rainy and freezing,
Yeah.
had to get going. And
Yeah.
like that's great, but like the nice thing about the peppermint patty is people aren't putting their lips all over it. You put your head back,
Yeah.
someone does the pouring there with the beam, with the past the Jim Beam, you're just slobbing it up. And the nice thing about the peppermint patty is you're in control, and it's a social thing. You come on over, have a peppermint patty shot,
Yeah.
you give them the pour.
Yep. And then before you know it, you're entering the bar slash club at 9 a.m. and promptly blacking out and leaving by 9:25 and finding your way back home somehow.
That's you, cuz that's you. I gotta hear this full story sometime.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, that answers my question on whether you're a tailgate beer or liquor person, because I feel like there's usually two ends of that spectrum, people that are just liquoring it up and people that stick just to beer. I mean, like I said, I will gladly take an occasional shot, but typically beer is where
Yeah.
I'm focused on. Any last thoughts on
No,
drinks?
no, let's move on. Let's move on to food.
Food. Hit me with it. I went first. You go first.
Yeah, okay. So, there's a lot of different types of food that you can have at tailgate, like the
Sure.
someone's, usually bringing a grill, people bring like, chips and stuff like that. There may be dips that go with the chips. I have thoughts on that too. But for me, it doesn't get much better than having some sliders, and I'm talking like, it doesn't matter if it's like a ham and cheese slider, if it's a meatball slider, if it's a burger slider, like whatever it is. Sliders to me are the best because they're easily consumable. It's just a small one, you just grab it, and like if you're in the middle of a game, you just grab your slider, you fire it down, it's not a problem. You don't have to worry about some things where it's like, people getting their grubby paws all over them. Hot dogs and brats are great, but like, it can be like a process to eat it. Like you gotta eat, you might be playing a game, it's like playing cornhole, it's like, hold on, I got my dog, I got my beer, can be too much. A slider is perfect, it's easily consumable. It is, to me, the best thing that you can have food wise. And you also, you might have too many hot dogs. With sliders, you can like kind of pace yourself. You just go, you grab one, you eat it, and then you might go back and grab another. You're kind of like letting yourself get full as you go along. You don't risk getting overly full.
Yeah.
Sliders.
Okay. I have like two answers to this. I have what I want to do and what is more practical that I end up doing.
Okay. Okay.
So I am a breakfast fiend.
Oh yeah.
So I guess it depends on the game, right? It depends on how early you're tailgating. If it's a noon, 1 o'clock game, you're up there
Mm-hmm.
early, or even if it is like a night game and you're just, you're about that business, and you're still there early.
Breakfast knows no time of day.
I'm just a big breakfast sandwich guy, and
Yeah.
if you're in a place where you can get yourself a decent bagel to bring, obviously you kind of have to have that already prepared, the bagel aspect of it, or I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's other things you can put it on. I mean, I'm just a bagel person, but to be able to, if you're able to bring a little griddle, and it can just
Ooh.
be like a piece of like a removable griddle you put on a grill. It doesn't have to be like a
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
specialized
yeah,
like
yeah.
griddle. But yeah, just give me like a bacon, egg, and cheese. And again,
Oh
like
yeah.
you can do the bacon the night before, so you're just
Yeah.
kind of really crisping her up. You can
Or
even
even sausage patties on the grill,
I was gonna say,
like a
yeah,
yeah.
sausage. You can do that. That's something that I've done once or twice. It's always on my mind. I could eat a breakfast sandwich all day, every day.
Yeah.
Um, as far as practically, I don't know what it is, and I don't. I feel like I'm going through a phase where I'm just like not into hot dogs or sausages right now. It's weird.
Oh,
Like a
okay.
hot sausage is different. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's a little softer.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I'm just not in a mood for like a ballpark Frank. So burgers
Huh.
are usually my go-to. And I prefer to spend the time, which I'll get into a little bit later, of not bringing like a frozen meat, actually like preparing and mixing together
Oh,
a good like fresh ground beef. And I think I briefly
at
talked
the
to you about
tailgate?
this. Yes. Well, no, I do this ahead of time, and
Okay,
then I
okay.
bring the already
Saran wrap it. Yeah, yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Yes. Um, I will say, let's see here though. My mom's recipe for burgers, and we did this at a tailgate in Arizona a couple years ago. So she used to live in Phoenix, and the Lions were there over her birthday right before Christmas, and so we got some tickets and tailgated the game, which was awesome. And that's when my mom's a really good cook. She loves to cook. So
Yeah,
there's always good things. And now that I'm getting older, I'm picking her brain a lot more than I used to, right? Like I
yeah,
didn't really care before, but now I'm starting to actually ask her. But one of the burgers, one of the things we did for burgers, which was absolutely delicious, was so she does like if you have say a pound of meat, she'll do
yeah,
3/4 of it ground chuck and
yeah,
then a quarter of it ground pork, and
yeah,
you
like that.
mix her together.
Yep,
She'll also in when you're mixing that together, you'll she adds McCormick's burger seasoning,
yep,
a little bit of Worcestershire sauce,
yep, yep, yep.
and here's the key here. And you can still add an additional cheese on top, but we like to shred some Asiago and mix
Ooh,
that into the meat
yeah, that's a good
itself.
move.
So you add those five things together, press her down, and get that going on a grill, and it was just
Feel like you
beautiful.
made this burger for me last summer or maybe this summer or something. But yeah, that is a delicious burger right there, man. You got a lot. That's a complex flavor palette right there that you're
Yes.
putting together. So it's not just a burger. It is a homemade like specific recipe, 3 parts chuck, 1 part pork, Worcestershire, the munch or the McCormick seasoning, and the Asiago. I love that.
Yeah, so and this is just kind of my philosophy, and I get it if this isn't everyone's. It can be, and it doesn't happen for me every time. Like when I go to Thanksgiving game every year for the Lions, I don't necessarily do that, but I'm of the mind again, like when I think about a tailgate and I'm preparing for a tailgate in a given week. Uh, I mean, I don't go to too many football games a year, even though I'm a huge fan. Maybe I get to
Yeah.
three, and that's like a hell of a year. Um, I, I like to treat it like a real event. So I
Yeah.
would prefer to have great food there, right? To
Yeah.
take the extra steps to do that. So that's just kind of why, I take a step forward than most people.
No,
It's
I,
usually
I
to
I think that's
do
that's
that.
what we're talking about here. It's a special event and it should be treated as such.
Sure. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. I've obviously had plenty of dogs, and like you said, dogs and sausages are pretty easy. A little bit more of
Yep.
a pain in the ass after the fact, right? When you're trying to do other things and just sit there and
Yep.
eat. But yeah, burgers are usually my go-to. I think sliders are a great call. That's actually I should think about maybe taking that burger recipe and cutting it down to make
Sliding
it a
it up.
little. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a great call.
Yeah, you get some Kings of Wine rolls or something like that. Yeah, you're in good shape.
Ooh,
Yeah, buddy.
num. All right, games. My go-to game. So, I guess are you of which? which school of thought are you? And this can be both, I suppose, but I feel like each tailgate is usually one or the other. Are you a, call it, traditional game guy that involves drinking? So that can be your cornholes, your
Hmm.
ladder golfs, but you have a beer in your hand. Or are you a flip cup, like drinking game at a tailgate kind of person? I'll go first. I'm
Yeah.
more typically a game
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
I will say I love can jam. I think that's a terrible
Oh
idea
yeah.
at a tailgate because
Agreed.
you
Agreed.
have to be really controlled and good at throwing a frisbee, and it's a lot easier. Like if you're bad at cornhole, you're typically not like hitting cars like aisles
Yeah.
away,
Right.
right?
Right. 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 Right.
Um, but yeah, I'd say, I mean, I love me some cornhole. I know it's a pain in the ass to bring, so I don't usually bring it. But if it's there, that's my go-to.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm definitely more that at a tailgate than I am like flip cup or um, beer pong or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean beer pong is pretty much unplayable at a tailgate because to your point, the ball goes flying, it's underneath the car, and you gotta go. You know, you have to play with water. You can't play with beer because then again, if the ball goes under the car, like someone could have pissed right on the tire of that car, or there
Yeah.
oil on the ground. Like it's unplayable, and just even handling the ball after it's just unplayable. Um, uh, t- Cornhole's good. You know, that's probably like the best I think tailgate game. A case could be made for like quarters. Um, I agree that I am a game guy to tailgate, not a drinking game guy. But however, if I am playing a drinking game,
If I get my arm twisted,
if I am playing a drinking game, I am playing the best tailgate drinking game.
which is
Have we ever talked about Natty Toss?
natty toss, no,
We've never talked about Natty to oh boy.
no.
Okay, so this is a game that was introduced to me uh whenever I started doing the Pittsburgh Pirates home opener tailgate, and it was a game that was brought out of necessity. So the first year I went, a couple years prior, the guys were getting ready to go into the game and obviously had a case full of natty still, like a cooler full of natty still, and they wanted to, get going, get the boys going, a little bit, get rid of some of this natty and get into the game. So out of born out of necessity, they said, okay, let's just pass the natty around like you're sitting in a circle, a pretty sizable circle, you're
Yeah.
and you toss the natty. And you can only catch it and throw it with one hand. And if you drop it, you drink. If your throw is bad and causing the other person to drop it, you drink. If the can starts to fizz, like gets to the point where it's broken, starts fizzing, then you have to chug your natty in the center of the circle. And that is natty toss. Very simple, but it gets the people going. Every year when we do it, we get a big crowd. Everyone comes around, like, see what the hell's going on. People always are pulling up seats and stuff like that. Someone's going to get like a chair and pull up, and it's great. I mean, many a time, my buddy's dad, poor Bob Roth, still complains that his golf game's ruined because he was playing natty toss and stoved his finger. So
Who? Bob Ross?
Bob Roth,
Oh,
Roth,
Roth. Okay,
yeah,
not
no,
Ross.
yeah,
And
Bob
painting
Roth.
pictures out there.
He Brad would be like, my dad still bitches every time he hooks a shot. It's like that damn natty toss. So my finger, not back to what it used to be.
So you're in a circle, and so this is like a very random, like who you're going to throw to. Obviously, more times than not, it's
Yes,
probably someone
head on swivel, head on
right
swivel.
across. So are you guys like chucking it? Like, is it acceptable to do like a
No,
softball
no,
underhand
you
check?
have to. So, like I said, you only can use one hand to catch it and throw,
Sure.
and it has to be a catchable can. You
Okay.
can't just whip it at the guy.
Okay.
Like lofting it is the name of the game. If you
Okay.
whip at someone, you're an
Yeah.
asshole
Yeah. Well, yeah,
and
but
you drink.
okay.
So yeah.
Wasn't sure if that was just built in because I can see people like even if it's like catch up here and an underhand whip like in someone's
Yeah.
chest, like I can see
No,
that
no, no.
being
And it's like,
nasty.
I mean, sometimes I'm going across the circle to someone.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's just because it's head on swivel, baby. You
yeah.
just flip up to the guy next to you and hope they make the catch. So yeah. Well, or don't hope they make the catch either way.
Right.
But yeah, natty toss. Natty toss is my tailgate game.
Okay. That's a great one. I feel like we got to play that now.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
Um, all right. What do we got next? Miscellaneous item.
Yeah, so I had a hard time with this one because like there are so many things that like I'm not like whatever I'm thinking about, I'm not thinking like core grill. Those things are like things that are a given, right? To have at a tailgate. You kind of need that, right? Um, I'm thinking like something that like is going to add to the experience that is not at every tailgate, right?
I got one. Do you
Do
have yours?
Yeah, I
Okay,
do,
okay,
but
okay. Sorry.
yeah.
Well, you led with like, oh, I really struggle.
I'm just
Oh,
explaining to the
okay,
people. I'm just explaining to the people.
okay.
For me, like, because I don't want someone to be like, well, why don't you just go, what about the grill? That's a miscellaneous item. Well, yeah, no shit, dude. Like, everyone needs a grill. Like, I'm
Sure.
talking about something that's really, I would even say that, like, a speaker system might be like,
Yeah,
like kind of necessary.
yeah.
I'm thinking what I like to see, especially like a big tailgate, you got some buddies that are showing up, and they call you. And it's like, hey, where you guys at? And it's like, I'm over by the stadium, the second lot back, like a couple rows in, but it's like, oh gosh, and then I lose the call, and then takes a flag. Just give me a flag, attach it to the tailgate, say, yep, I'm the Jolly Roger and the American flag in this lot. Look for the flag, you'll find me. And
Yes.
then you're just a beacon of hope in a sea of transparency. So, or not transparency, but what I mean, the opposite of
Sure.
transparency. So yeah,
Yeah.
a
Opaqueness.
flag. Yes. A flag is what is a great thing to have. It
Okay.
kind of sets you apart, makes it easy to find, especially if a lot of
Sure.
buddies coming up. You might look on Instagram, someone else is at the game. It's like, yo, come see me. No, you come see me. No, I'm easy to find. I got the flag. Just come
Yeah.
over to the flag.
Okay. Okay. That's a great answer. I went a different direction.
Lay it on me.
And I will say this is situational.
Yeah.
So your miscellaneous um, item is something that's practical for every time. Doesn't matter. One person, two person, like you're the
Yeah.
guy, you're the flag guy, right? You
Yeah.
got your flag. Um, I would say this is situational, probably not applicable for NFL games unless it's a later game. I would say, and maybe it's just because I hate pregame people. Um, but for college, especially if you're not the first game of the day,
Yeah.
I'm a big TV guy. Nowadays,
Ooh.
nowadays it is so easy to bring a TV that's a smart TV, an
Yeah.
HDMI to a computer, and
Yeah.
and again, it doesn't work every time. It depends on where you're at, but I would say 90% of places you tailgate have like cell service,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
has unlimited cell phone plans, right? Like
Yeah.
data plans. So I'm a big bring the TV guy, where it's
I
like
love that. I love that.
and again, it doesn't have to be crazy. Everyone has probably
No.
like a 32-incher or something that's like an
Yeah.
old TV that you don't really know what to do with because it's too small. Maybe it's in your bedroom.
Yes.
You just upgraded. You have that extra TV. I did this actually last year when I went to the Michigan State Nebraska game with my dad and my little brother. We had, I believe, the Spartans played at 3:30 or 4, and so we had the noon games on, and it
Yeah.
worked. I would say it worked fairly well. There was you have to have some prep, so you have to make sure you have a power source.
Of
So
course.
a lot of cars nowadays have an outlet. You don't necessarily need like a generator or anything
Yeah.
like that, you can
Right. Right.
obviously
Right.
bring a generator if you need one.
Yeah.
Or if you just have a laptop that has a pretty decent battery, you can usually
Yeah.
get a decent amount of time out of it. Or like a charger, like what are those things called? The chargers that you charge and then they're like an external charger.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a
So
battery. Yeah,
yeah, I'm a big TV guy. It's really not too much of a pain in the butt, but if you're like having a day long tailgate, you got a night game, even if you have
yeah,
like a mid afternoon game, or even if you have a noon game and you're there early and you love college game day, like
yeah. Throw that on.
I'm all about it. And
That's a
it's
great call. And you could even like after the game's over, if you don't want to sit in traffic, and you
yeah.
got some beers left over and some food.
Or
Just
you've got to sober up a bit, like whatever the
yeah,
situation
that too.
is.
Whatever your situation is, yeah,
Yeah.
you can just throw on the TV and you're good to go. I love
And
that.
yeah, and it's a great thing. It doesn't interfere. It doesn't have to interfere with anyone else's games because, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if it's college game day, it's a little different. But for me, like, I can easily watch a football game. Sometimes it's preferred and not listen to the commentators, right? So you
Oh
can
yeah,
still
yeah.
have
Oh,
your music going and
absolutely.
everything like that.
Absolutely.
Or
No, keep it
yeah,
on. I would say keep it on mute, let the music play. And then, as the boys are playing a little cornhole, you just peek over what's going on with the game here,
yeah.
and going to
I mean, you're
going to pick up a slider. Yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly.
How's my bet going? Because you gambled on
Exactly.
those games, right?
Exactly.
Like, you gambled on one of them, so you got to
Exactly.
know.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really good pick. That's very
Yeah,
strong.
so that's me. All right, pro move. This is our last one. I can start off, and I kind of alluded to it earlier. My biggest pro move in my eyes is just the prep the night before. Like
Ah,
you can really have a great tailgate, and whether that is pre-cooking some of your meals. So, for instance, when my dad and I go to Thanksgiving game for the Lions, we usually bring sausages, which is actually funny.
yeah,
Even though I guess that's like the only time I'm in the mood for it.
yeah,
But we'll
yeah.
grill the sausages the night before, so all we really
Okay.
have to do is like heat them up when we get there.
Yeah,
Because typically, because it's Thanksgiving, and I'm usually traveling into Detroit or back home to Michigan, and especially now with the baby, like we're not getting there super early, right? We're only
yeah,
getting there an hour and a half or so before the game, so it's enough to really get a nice little mini tailgate in before we get into the game in time to get a cheap beer and then get to our seats.
yeah, yeah,
But that, or even like I was mentioning, the burgers that I like it, just take the time the night
yeah.
before, mix those together, throw them in the fridge, like you said, saran wrap, whatever you want to do.
Hmm.
I'm just always like, and maybe it's just my personality, like I like to take the time before the night before and just prepare so
Yeah,
that it is just like the ultimate time when you're there and you don't have to
yeah,
worry about
yeah.
it. So that's
No,
my biggest pro move.
that's and we're very much on the same page, except instead of prep the night before, I'm gonna say prep the morning of. And by
Okay.
that, I mean very specifically, go to a gas station. Stop, make time in your schedule so that no matter what the traffic's like, or anything like that, that you're gonna be able to, because like opening day, we get there and you line up and you get your spot. Make sure that you have time to hit the gas station. You're gonna want to pick up, maybe a breakfast sandwich. I'm talking like stop at Sheets, get yourself a breakfast sandwich and a hash brown, get yourself a couple Red Bulls, maybe a 5 hour energy, so you got some energy going throughout the day, cup of coffee, get, all your nicotine of choice, whether it be cigarettes or chew or whatever it is. Stop at the gas station, even grab a couple snacks, right? Like,
Ice, right? Ice is usually
yeah,
a day,
yeah.
a morning of.
Yeah, well, I mean, for us, it's like, like we normally already have that. Like, I go to Stinch's house before the game, and he usually has ice there. Like, we're set with that. It's like you go 1 year, Stinch and I were running late, and we didn't go to the gas station. It was miserable. I'm like bumming chew off of people because I ran out halfway through the tailgate. Thank God, like Brad Roth, our savior that morning, he showed up late, which is fine because like our trucks, like, so it was Stinch drives and his brother drives, and they both have trucks. And like Brad showed up late, but it doesn't matter. Like he can park his truck wherever because we have two trucks together, anyways.
Yeah.
And he was late, but he picked up McDonald's breakfast sandwiches, which was like, a
Clutch.
gift. Yeah, it was like a gift from the heavens. But like, that's the thing. if like that at least got me going in that situation, but still, like, I didn't have my chew, got a little tired, didn't have like a 5-hour energy or anything like that. You have to make time to hit the gas station before the game, get all the stuff that you're going to need. Like you said, if you eat some ice too, like whatever, make time to hit the gas station.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I guess I didn't even think of that as like something. It's almost like organic sometimes. Like in my case, it's like usually the ice. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I can do all the preparing, but am I really gonna put a big bag of ice in my freezer?
Right.
Like, no.
Right.
But you have to make that time because yeah, even if it's just something as simple as needing ice in your cooler, like you're gonna have a bad time if you don't hit that gas station.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you
Maybe
don't gotta make time for it because you also want to make sure you're lining up
sure,
appropriately to
right?
get your spot. So
Yeah, no, 100%. Um, okay, guys, that is our tailgate special. Our tips, our tricks, our preferences, what we like to do. I would love to hear if you guys have uh, anything that we talked about. If there was a drink that you're passionate about, a food, a game maybe that we haven't even talked about that's like a tradition for you. Again, like a miscellaneous item or your own pro move. Please let us
yeah,
know. DM us. We'll post the answers to everyone's. Actually, I guess we can probably do a poll, right? That's probably like,
yeah. Let's.
yeah,
I was just gonna
we
write it
can,
down here. Try to do a
yeah,
little poll. So we'll do.
yeah.
I'm just
We're
right.
fancy
Yeah.
Instagrammers, right? We can figure this out like the kids.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we can. Well, all right. What was your game? Was it
So mine was just like I would say like my preference is game, and my go-to is usually cornhole, but it can
cornhole? Yeah,
be
that's
a
what.
bit
Okay.
cumbersome to bring the boards. But if you definitely have someone with a truck or a bigger SUV, then it's usually not a problem.
Yeah, that TV pick is really gonna set you over the top with the people. So
Yeah,
that
I'm
was
I'm
that was a good pick.
that's one of my favorites. If I can make it happen, and it's not an always situation, but if you can make it happen, it's usually one you never regret.
I love it. All right, cool.
Yes. So, and I will say, guys, I think I hinted at this before. We have like a special project that the Whiskers and Whiskey Boys are working on. It is related to tailgating, and it's in motion currently. Really excited about it. Hoping to get like even if it's a test run of it, probably the turn of the new year is probably a realistic timeline for it. And it'll be perfect because it'll probably come around the time that football ends and we're jonesing for something. So
There we go. There we
um,
go.
stay tuned, but it's something we're excited about, and it's definitely something I think you guys will really love. So stay tuned. Okay, so why don't we get to our rivalry here? So today we're talking about the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And
Indeed.
again, that is played between the Florida Gators and the Georgia Bulldogs. So let me hit you with a fun fact here.
Hit me with it.
So since 1933, this is unique to rivalries, I think. I mean, I don't think, I think it's pretty unique. So since 1933, this game has been played at a neutral site in all but 2 years, making it one of the only annual rivalry games that are played at a neutral site and not on each other's campuses,
Yeah.
which is weird. I don't know. It's like when you think about it, it's odd
Yeah.
that they do
Yeah.
that
It
because
is.
of the draw of being on campus. And um, I think I get into it a little bit later on why they do that, but I
Okay.
think you can
Okay.
probably guess why.
Yeah.
The money,
The
money, money, money,
money,
money.
money, money. Yeah. Money makes the world go round.
All right. So is your official guess going to be an original Four Loco as the
Yeah,
trophy?
let's make that my guess. That sounds good. You know what? Actually, no. It's gonna be a
Because so, in all honesty, Mike, being in the SEC, you're not in the SEC. Being a fan of an SEC school, you're obviously very familiar with this game.
yes.
You are
Uh
you are not aware, or were you? You can be truthful. Were you aware that there's a trophy?
no.
Oh boy,
No,
this is gonna be
I was
this
not
is gonna
aware that
be a
there was a
treat.
trophy.
I don't
And
think a lot of people do know unless you're obviously a fan of the either school.
my official guess is just it's still an original Four Loco, but served in one of those cactus margarita glasses, and the rim is just salted with crystal meth, just a little crunched up crystal meth ring
Is that
there.
because of like the location of the game? Is that
Because
what
of
it's
Jacksonville,
you get
yes,
the
yeah,
local?
yeah,
Oh,
Jacksonville, yeah.
spoiler alert! It is played in Jacksonville every year. Okay, so why don't I give you a little bit of history on the rivalry? So the first matchup was in 1904, or was it 1915? We'll get to that in a second.
You tell me, pal.
Oh, I will tell you in a second. So the first matchup, depending on who you ask, was either won by Georgia 52-0 or won by Georgia 37-0.
Okay.
So the result really didn't change.
No, still a shutout for the dogs.
Sure. Overall, the series lead is Georgia leads at 54 wins to 44 losses to two
Okay.
ties.
Okay.
And honestly, this
Close.
this series has just been a series of streaks by both schools. So
That makes sense.
the longest winning streak is 7, and that's held by both schools multiple times.
Okay. Okay.
But over the last 10 years, Georgia is 6-4,
Mm-hmm. That's closer
and
than I expected.
the previous 10 years before that, Florida was 7-3.
Yep, makes sense.
So kind of what we were talking about. It's been pretty evenly matched through the various decades. Just a streak here, streak there. So normally I would stop and ask you your thoughts on the trophy and introduce a trophy, but not this time.
Not this time,
This
folks.
one's special. I need to paint a picture first.
All right.
I need to give you a little bit more information before I get to this trophy. Okay.
All right.
So, as I alluded to before, there is some disputed beginnings to this rivalry. So, the two universities do not agree on when this actual rivalry began. The University of Georgia's athletic department considers the 52-0 victory in 1904 against a school known as the University of Florida to be a part of the series. So, they believe the first time was 1904.
Okay.
However, this was not the modern day University of Florida in Gainesville at that time, but it
Ah,
was one of the 4 predecessor institutions, a school based in Lake City that was known as the Florida Agricultural College back then.
okay. Okay.
And we kind of got into the I guess it was more on the Florida State side, but it was a very similar instance where there was a lot of changing of names and whatnot for Florida and Florida State over their histories before they got to what we consider the modern day universities. Um,
Mm,
so Florida's University Athletic Association does not include this game in its series of records because it occurred before the modern university was established by the Florida legislature with the act or the Buckman Act of 1905. So, and then again, like if I remember correctly from the McCullough Trophy, Florida's original school was a women's school. So they didn't have football when they first started either
okay.
until they became a co-ed school.
Trying to get some losses off the books. That's fair.
Yes. So they don't acknowledge the rivalry until 1915. So let's see here. So the Georgia sports historian, his name was Dan McGill, sums up Georgia's attitude towards this. Essentially, he said in quotes, "That's where Florida was back then. We can't help it if they got run out of Lake City." So yeah. So now you're already getting, if you didn't know that this is a rivalry game, you're already getting a sense of this all the way back to when they first started playing. So the first game in the rivalry acknowledged by both schools, so when Florida finally acknowledged it, took place in Jacksonville in 1915, and the series has been played annually since then, since 1926, except in 1943 when Florida did not field the team due to World War II.
Right.
So this has been
Okay.
played continuously since 1943. So the site of the game. So we kind of hinted at this as well. It's a neutral site. So the Florida Georgia game has often been held off campus since the very beginning. Florida's first on-campus stadium, Fleming Field, was very
Mm-hmm.
small. So
Mm-hmm.
Florida's early teams usually played at home against the opposition somewhere other than Gainesville. Um,
Okay.
so before 1930, Florida Georgia's contests were held in Jacksonville 3 times, Savannah twice, and Tampa once, along with several home games in Athens,
Mm-hmm.
and then another one in Macon, Georgia as well.
Okay.
So Florida Field officially opened as we know it in 1930, and the rivals two played that game in Gainesville for the first time in 1931, with the following season returning back to Athens, Georgia. And then from 1933 onward, the game has been played in Jacksonville. So it really only played a couple of games early on, but from the get-go, it's pretty much been in Jacksonville for its
Oh,
entirety.
huh.
So since 1933 and onward, the game has been played in Jacksonville except for one home and home set in 1994 and 1995. And this was because the old Gator Bowl Stadium was being rebuilt for the expansion Jacksonville Jaguars of the NFL. So they had
Gotcha.
to do it
Gotcha.
because the Jaguars came to town.
Gotcha.
So in almost 100 meetings, the game has only been played in Athens or Gainesville a total of 7 times. And
Wow.
there are no future plans to move it from Jacksonville.
Why would you? Scenic Jacksonville.
Yeah, I know, right? All the places. So playing this game at a neutral site rather than on either campus generates more revenue
Yeah.
than if the game was rotated on a home and home basis.
Mm-hmm.
So as of 2018, the universities make about 3.3 million each year,
Wow.
or 6.6 million every 2 years, which is again far more than they would have earned had they just been alternating stadiums.
Right. Right.
And in addition, the city of Jacksonville agreed in 2019 to compensate the schools for the loss of the home game by paying each university $1 million a year.
What?
Plus,
They were already making more money, and then the city of Jacksonville, they squeezed the city of Jacksonville. They're like, hey, if you want us to continue making more money here, pay us. Or I guess were they thinking like, hey, we'll go somewhere else?
maybe. I mean, I didn't see if there was a true dispute or if Jacksonville just like didn't even want to risk it and was like, hey, stay here. We can compensate
That's
you.
wow.
Yep. So $1 million a year plus travel expenses beginning in 2020 was
Holy shit.
yep. And there has been the occasional call to move the game from Jacksonville, usually when either school is dominating the rivalry.
Or a fan gets stabbed by a hobo.
Sure. In 2018, Georgia's coach, Kirby Smart, pointed out that the neutral site game costs both programs a valuable recruiting weekend every other year. And
Why? Bring him.
I guess in their eyes, where it's actually an interesting like juxtaposition to the game that we talked about earlier this season, which is the Southwest Classic. Just
Right.
had to hit me, which is played at Cowboy Stadium every year,
Right.
and that's a draw in their
Yeah.
eyes. For
For
I mean, maybe it's
recruits.
because College Station and Fayetteville are probably not huge.
Well, College Station's a cult. I'm surprised they don't want them to show up there and drink the
Right.
Kool-Aid.
Um,
Huh.
yeah, so they see it as an actual recruiting tool to be able to say, hey, you're going to play at Cowboy Stadium. Maybe it's because it's Jacksonville, and maybe it's not at like a historic stadium and
Listen, it's
in
the
a
world's
historic city.
largest outdoor cocktail party, like
Yeah.
which includes women in cocktail dresses. Just have the recruits go walk around the tailgate for a little bit there. They'll want to come to your school.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. Yeah, so like even like I said,
Come on, Kirby, get smart.
but at the time, the Florida coach Dan Mullen also said that he respected that point of view as well. I can understand from like a coaching standpoint that it's more fun to have the campus game, right? To be able to really hype it up, to get your fans there.
The fans are there.
The student fans. I don't know how many students travel to Jacksonville, probably especially from Athens. Obviously, it's a little easier for Gainesville, for Florida fans to get to Jacksonville.
I
But
was gonna ask how far, like who has the advantage from a drive perspective? I assume Florida, but
yeah, it's probably not by much. If I had to guess, I don't know. If I had to guess, it's probably an hour versus maybe 2 hours. But why guess when I have a computer right in front of my
yeah, well, I
face?
guess
So why don't I just tell you exactly what it is? So from what's your guess? Actually, tell me what you think.
I'm gonna say
Given
from
your
Athens. Where's Jacksonville? It's on the east, right? It's all the
sure
way on the
is,
east coast.
yeah,
I'm gonna say it's probably like a 3-hour drive from Athens. I have no idea where Gainesville is located, so I'm gonna say it's like an hour from Gainesville.
really, of all the knowledge you have in your head, geography is not one of them. That's actually one of
Well,
mine.
I mean, I know some things. I just don't know exactly where Gainesville is.
It's in the Panhandle, but it's not too far in the Panhandle or like
Yeah, okay.
Tallahassee. It's
I
almost
figured
there.
I knew it was up north. I just
Yeah.
didn't know exactly where.
Okay, so Gainesville to Jacksonville is an hour and 14 minutes. So I almost nailed
Okay.
that. I almost nailed that one.
Yeah, there you go.
And then Athens to Jacksonville is, drum roll please, holy shit, 5 hours and 30 minutes.
5 hours? I said three. I was way off.
Holy shit, Athens. I guess that's right. Atlanta's way further north in Georgia than I thought it was.
Sweet Christmas.
Yeah, so you can really understand why Kirby Smart's.
Yeah. Okay, I get it now. Point made, Kirby.
Right. He's talking about recruiting, but it's also just like, sure, you're gonna get your Georgia fans.
It's a
Like
road game
your
every
adults,
year.
right?
Yeah.
You get your adults that are always going to travel. You're going to get those fans, and I know this. I'm sure the school provides busing down there, but that's like a much different
Yeah.
situation to know that you're going
Yeah.
to be on a bus for 10 hours, probably even longer, really, probably close to 12
Jeez,
hours
oh man.
bus wise. But
Yeah, I bet
so
Jacksonville's worried that they'd lose it to the Mercedes
I was
Benz.
going to say Atlanta,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Florida was probably like, I don't know if we want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
LOL. Yeah, so it seems like even though there's been the occasional talk of moving the game to each other's campuses, there has just been renewed contracts because it makes financial sense for both schools to keep it in Jacksonville. So, for example, despite vocal calls to move the game to Atlanta or to move it to a home and home, after Florida went on a 16-3 run in the series, Georgia's athletic board unanimously agreed in 2009 to a 6-year contract that kept the game in Jacksonville through 2016. And then the most recent contract extension keeps the game there until at least 2023 with an option of 2 more years. But
Okay.
I didn't see anything about that changing.
Okay.
So, and then on the flip side for Jacksonville, why they're willing to pay $1 million to both schools, $2 million a year, is the game is really extremely lucrative for Jacksonville businesses, particularly in the downtown area, with
Sure.
many reporting that
Sure.
it's the busiest weekend of the year for them.
Sure.
And in addition to being an importance to the city of Jacksonville, the Georgia Golden Isles also depends on the game to sustain business through the winter seasons, as Georgia students and alumni elect to spend the weekend on the Georgia coast,
Oh, cool.
particularly on the St. Simon's Island, where thousands of Georgia students gather each year at the aptly named Frat Beach on the Friday before Jacksonville.
Nice.
That is something I had no idea about. Did you know that there's like really fancy schmancy ritzy beaches? It's not quite Savannah or Hilton Head. It's like its own little different. It's close to there, of course, but it's its own little islands that are also down that coast.
I had no
So
idea.
it's much closer to the Florida Georgia line.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I guess there are like very, very, very big. Like you're thinking like Hamptons, like the Hamptons of
Oh,
the South.
wow.
Yeah, like politicians and shit have houses there. I don't remember why
Huh.
I was doing research for work on it one day, but there was like this really ritzy event on this island in Georgia, and I was like, "Where the hell is this?" But it's a
Wow.
really big deal. It's like
Huh.
like I said,
The
my best
Golden
equivalent.
Isles?
Yeah, it's like the Hamptons is what I would describe it as. Like,
Huh.
um, Yeah. So I guess that's where they choose to be. And I guess that makes sense too, right? Because it's usually this weekend. And it's probably not like obviously swimmable weather, but it's probably not terrible, right? It's probably
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
60s, if not 70.
Huh.
Um, okay, so why don't we get to the why it's named? Why it's named? So this game is one of the busiest annual events downtown Jacksonville. Attracts a huge crowd that congregates around the stadium for tailgating and other places in Jacksonville. And because of this, the game is known as the world's largest outdoor cocktail party,
Mm-hmm.
a nickname first coined in the 1950s by a fella named Bill Castells, who was a sports editor for the Florida Times Union. And Castells claimed that he came up with the name after seeing a drunk, stumbling fan offer an alcoholic beverage to an on-duty police officer.
Okay.
So he saw that and went, I'm going to call this the world's largest outdoor cocktail party because if you have had so many peppermint patties that you are offering beers to an on duty
That's just
police
polite.
officer,
That's just polite. That's all it
officer.
is. That's all it
So,
is.
so the cocktail party, or the cocktail party nickname proved so popular that the city of Jacksonville used it for many, many years. However, the city dropped it from its official usage in 1988 following a series of alcohol fueled outbursts.
Okay.
So in 1984, Florida fans stormed the field and tore the goalposts down. Looking at you, Knoxville, after a 27-0 victory. In the following year, a 24-3 Georgia win led Bulldog fans to do the same, ultimately resulting in 65 arrests. So, therefore, the city cracked down on excessive drinking and soon dropped its name. And in 2006, you're going to hate this, both schools and the Southeast Conference asked CBS and the city to abandon the name in promotions due to concerns about alcohol abuse by students and other attendees.
What? What? I mean, it's like as sure as the sun rises, the Florida and Georgia kids are gonna drink. Like it's just it is what it is.
This has, to a lesser extent, the battle for the beer barrel written all over it.
Yeah.
Obviously, that had a very reasonable explanation at the time for why they stopped it. But yeah, Mike. So technically, officially, this is not named the world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
Yeah, everyone still calls it that though. So it is what
It's
it
just
is.
like Acrisure Stadium.
That's
Clearly
Heinz
not
Field,
called.
baby. That's
Clearly
Heinz
not called.
Field. I
So
haven't even thought of it being Acrisure one time this season. That is Heinz Field.
I'm surprised you even said that right now. I even used it by name. It's like he who must not be named.
You must not be named. Yeah, right.
So since 2006, the rivalry lacked an official name. It was generally just called like the Florida Georgia game, and again, this is by like official standards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or like Florida, Georgia, Georgia, Florida, if it's in Georgia, right? It depends on which state you're in, which
Right, right, right.
state gets named first. Um, and let's see here. So some have called it numerous things depending on the periodical. Depending on and like for instance, the Jacksonville or the Florida Times Union will name it. Will rotate whether it's Florida or Georgia based on who has the home game, right? Because
Okay.
technically that
Yeah.
because the jerseys, right? Which one wears their home and away jerseys depends
Right.
on who's technically at home. Um, but since 2009, the respective student government associations of the institutions have referred to this game as the War for the Oar, as the winning team takes home the Okefenokee Oar.
What?
Scroll down and take a look at this
How
bad
have I
boy.
never heard of this? Oh boy, you really want me to scroll.
Yeah, I didn't want you to see
Oh
this
my
before.
sweet lord. What do we have here?
Guys, if you couldn't tell by the way he just exasperated, he was leaning back at this portion. He was up front when we were talking about tailgate. He's so pumped up. He sat back during my history lesson. He has sat back forward in attention over this.
Whoa. Whoa. All
Tell
right.
us what we're looking at here.
Let me tell
And
the people what we're seeing.
I have about 5 pictures here, so don't be afraid to scroll a few times to
Oh,
get
I
like a
can. Okay.
full perspective.
Oh my gosh.
Let's
Okay.
just say they nailed it on the first time, right? So
Yeah, they
no need
definitely
to
did nail it on the first try. Wow. Okay. So what we got here is we got an oar. Quite an oar. The oar is like wider than a man. Like if a man were to stand in front of this oar, the oar part, the paddle part is wider, and it is much taller than a man. It would is probably as tall as like a man, like two guys. They're like 5'11", staying on each other's shoulders. And it is, but like for some perspective, these kids are holding it up at the tailgate. It's five kids with like their arms like normally above their heads holding it up. So like that gives you an idea of how long it is. Let's see. We've got there's a helpful. I was gonna say I was just gonna read everything off on it, but there's a helpful guide here.
yeah, a little
So
diagram.
at the top of the handle, the handle of the oar, there is so there's two sides. One side is for Georgia, the other side is for Florida. I'm going to just describe the Georgia side, and then we'll get to the Florida side. It's like it works either way. So at the top of the handle, it's the Georgia G. On the Georgia side, on the Florida side, which I don't see, I assume it's the Florida F.
Yeah, the picture cut off.
Yeah, at the top of the handle or at top of the paddle section, there is an illustration of the mascot, a bulldog and a gator. Down the handle or I guess the handle of the oar, it's a record of all of the scores since 2009. They get engraved on the handle. So I skipped that part, but let's go back down. So beneath the mascot head, on the Georgia side, it says Georgia Florida football rivalry trophy. On the other side, it says Florida Georgia football rivalry trophy. The words the Okanofi or are emblazoned on both sides. The Georgia side has the state crest of Georgia. The Florida side has the state crest of Florida. And then at the bottom of the PAL, the oar reads presented anonymously to the University of Georgia student body, along with the date of dedication, October 21st, 2009. And then the Florida side says the same thing, presented anonymously to the University of Florida student body, October 21st, 2009. Wow. Wow. The Okie Finoki.
Pinoki.
The Okefenokee or
Yes.
what an or.
Yes. So unlike many college sports rivalries, the Florida Georgia game historically has not been played for a trophy. Obviously, we just mentioned that. So the city announced that the city of Jacksonville announced that it would award the winning teams the goalposts from the game in 1986 in order to persuade fans from not storming the field and destroying them as they previously had did 2 years. However, no goalposts were ever given out to either university
Liars. That's why you don't trust the administration, kids.
Well, because neither university wanted a set of goalposts.
Hey. The kids want it.
So in 2009, the student governments of the two universities announced the creation of this new trophy, the Okefenokee oar. It is a 10-foot long oar that was donated anonymously to the University of Florida in 2009. And then Mike had mentioned what was carved in both sides of it. And the oar itself was carved from the remains of a 1,000-year-old cypress tree that once grew in the Okefenokee swamp, which straddles the Florida Georgia border, and which was the source of an interstate border dispute, that swamp.
Yeah.
So beginning with 2009 contest, the oar is presented to the winning team's student body president. No trophy is presented at the game. So this is unfortunate. That was the only thing wrong with this was
why?
And I'm sure it probably has to do with the fact that it's so old and they don't want it to be broken. Like the tree it was made out of, it's just so precious that it's not trusted on the field with the players itself. So I know.
Give it to the nerds in the stand. Oh man.
I know. I know.
Uh
All right, so that's gonna do it for us. Let's get
wait,
to the
where's the Okefenokee? What does that stand for?
the oak itself, the ore was carved from the remains of that 1,000-year-old cypress tree that grew in the Okefenokee swamp.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry. I was mesmerized by this thing. So okay, all right, got it. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and actually, if I had to guess, Okefenokee probably is Native American.
I would make I that's a salient wager. Yeah. All right, let's
Uh,
do it.
yeah, actually, I'm trying to figure out if it's just telling me where the swamp is. But yes, so what is your rankings? So just to remind everyone, our rankings are on a scale from 1 to 5 on looks of the trophy, history of the trophy, history of the rivalry, the overall competitiveness of the rivalry, and whether we think it is a bottom tier, middle tier, or top tier rivalry and trophy.
All
What are
right.
your thoughts? Give
Looks
them to me.
five. Five. All's been said. I mean, that's it's a massive ore. Um war on the ore, like why I mean, what a decision to go with the ore like that. Just awesome. I mean, the engraving of the school, like this is what you want to see. It's got the school's emblems, the state seal, the name of the rivalry, the scores at 5, and it's huge. History. So this is where I do like, I mean, the 1,000-year-old cypress tree, I love all that. But somewhere I have to knock down the fact that they don't hand it out to the field
Yeah.
or to the players on the field. I feel like
Yeah.
this is the only logical place for me to knock it down.
Yep.
So I'm actually going to be pretty harsh on this. I'm going to say 3 because of that. I'm taking 2 whole points off. Like I think it could easily be if this thing was getting on the field, could be a 5. I'm being really harsh on them. That is bullshit.
That's fair.
Rivalry itself 5. I mean, super. You know what? 4 because like they go in spurts. Like oftentimes it's just the way it is. Like Georgia's good, Florida sucks, vice versa. So like 4, I think there is a hated rivalry there, but well, now we're getting to competitiveness. So all right, so rivalry itself, let me not get the two conflated. Rivalry itself is a 4, 5. I mean, Florida and Georgia hate each other. Competitiveness is where I take it down to a 4 because normally these teams, even when they are both ranked, one is still like significantly better than the other. So that's where I'm going to put it at 4. So overall, my is going to be a top tier one for me. So I was going to say my first top tier one, but I put the McCullough Trophy as a top. I retroactively go back and give that a grade of a top tier trophy.
Yep.
So this is my first live on air this season top tier. EJ, your thoughts?
Woo! Mike, we are like lockstep here. I mean, looks, it's a 5. Like, there's just nothing like this is up there with the best of the trophies, and I cannot believe I didn't know about this beforehand.
Yeah.
It like, and maybe it's because it's not presented at the field. Obviously, like the Big Ten is the gold standard when it comes to trophies. We've heard about it this year, where there's plenty of people that were like, the Big Ten's trophies are awesome. We should make one.
Yeah.
But this one's a 5. Like, it just checks all the boxes that we love: the girth, the size, what it's about, like where it comes from. Love it. History 3.5. So I gave it a tad of a bump, but I'm with you. I like that it is newer, but the fact that it is made from a very old thing that has to do with both schools is awesome. This would easily be a 5 if they presented it on the field. I understand why they don't, because you can't exactly replace a 1,000-year-old cypress tree artifact, but that sucks.
Yeah.
The rivalry itself, I put at a 4.5. So it's just a tick below. And I would say, because it's not, even though it's not a in-state rival, it acts as that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I would agree with you. This would be an easy 5 if you had any semblance of what Florida and Florida State were at times, where it was like decades of like whoever wins this wins the national
Yeah.
championship.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's still very, very heated. I feel like I equate Florida, Georgia with like what Michigan and Ohio is, where it's just like you can't stand even just,
Yeah.
oh, you're from Ohio, gross. And it's just
Yeah.
like this weird thing that you like have just been ingrained in you
Yeah.
as a kid. So I feel like it's that. And the competitiveness, again, I have it at a 4 like you do. Similar mindset, right? Where it would be nice if this was like really up for grabs every year.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's like Florida had their dominance and now it's Georgia's time. And hopefully with Billy Napier, Florida, in a few years can get back to it. Yeah, obviously they usually have
Let's not
good
hope too hard.
horses. Well, right. But at least they're on the other side, right? At least you only have
Yeah.
to, on most years, see them once a year. But I guess it'll change. I don't know. I don't know what the SEC is going to do. But this is clearly a top tier. I think when I was doing my research, and I actually think I looked at this one early, same with Floyd. I actually might have done the same thing where I just happened to peek at it and was just enamored with it from the get go, even though I
Yeah.
didn't do the
Yeah.
research till later.
Yeah.
This one's going to be tough to top.
Yeah. I agree. I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, so this is definitely a top tier for me. Okay, and the good news is this game is going to be played this weekend. This is one of the few SEC rivalry games that isn't played the last game of the year, and that is in addition to the battle for the beer barrel, which unfortunately is not a battle anymore. But that is also this weekend, and that is where we are going to start with our preview. Number 19 Kentucky. This became a game all of a sudden. Number 19
Yeah.
Kentucky, 5-2. We're traveling to Knoxville to play the number 3 Tennessee Volunteers, who are 7-0. The early line is minus 13, or at least is, as of yesterday. It was minus 13 and a half to Tennessee. What are your thoughts on this, Mike?
Drop my phone there. Just trying to take a look. I mean Tennessee rolls.
Rolls.
Yeah.
So they cover
Yeah.
that 13 and a half.
I'm showing 12 and a half on ESPN, but
Okay,
either
so
way,
move down.
yeah,
Okay, so
2
12 and a half.
touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, yeah, 2 touchdowns, 2 extra points.
Okay, so you think they're just still riding high? Who did they play this last week?
That'd be University of Tennessee, Martin. So
yeah, I was gonna say it was a nice little break
Cupcake.
from the to take down
Yeah.
that. We always talk about athletic directors not doing their programs any favors. Their athletic director gave them a favor
Big
by
favor.
giving them
Big
like a
favor.
breath of fresh air before
Yeah.
having to refocus.
Yeah.
And for Kentucky, I mean, they probably still, because they lost to Georgia. Technically, they probably still have a chance at it, so it's definitely something to play for. At chance at winning the East and getting to the SEC championship. But I'm with you. I don't know. I've watched Kentucky a couple times because of Will Levis and the Lions' need for a franchise quarterback, and I just haven't come away very impressed with them.
Yeah.
So I think it would be a major letdown on Tennessee's behalf if they were to not cover this number.
Agree.
And this game is going to be on at 7 p.m. on ESPN. So it gets the night game because the 3:30 CBS time is reserved for the war for the ore, or the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. So let's preview this game. Unranked Florida, who are 4-3, are traveling to Jacksonville to face the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs, who are 7-0, who are also traveling to Jacksonville much further. The Georgia line as of yesterday was 21.5 for Georgia. I'm sure it's still 3 scores regardless. It's around there. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Florida has a chance? Do you think they have a chance? What are your thoughts? Do they get up for this?
To win? No.
Okay.
No, I don't think they have a chance to win. Cover. I mean, I don't know. 3 scores is a lot. I don't know. I don't know if they'll cover or not. I would think not.
So my line of thought is
What's
This
Georgia
is
been scoring this year? Go
this
ahead.
is probably this is where we're gonna see how good of a coach Billy Napier is, and I think he's a good one because he's taken over a team, so there really should be patience. I know, and I feel like I'm guilty of this, and I think all fans are guilty of this, of just wanting immediate success for your team when you have a new change. And I think in college, it's even taking over a program like Florida, which inherently has usually really good athletes and good recruiting, and it's typically a failure on the coach's half. And honestly, a lot of times at Florida, it's the failure is not winning a national championship. And in all honesty, when you have Nick Saban in your conference, like
Yeah, tough to do.
yeah, you're wait in line. Typically, if you can get over that hurdle, you're in good shape, right? You
Yeah.
usually don't have too much of a problem with the rest of college football. But I think if you're Billy Napier and you haven't played Florida State yet, that's at the end of the year. This is your first real rival, right? This is your chance. So while I do think, I think Anthony Richardson has a potential, maybe, I think he's probably better served to come back to Florida one more year, even though he's draft eligible. But he has like a ceiling, right? We saw it at Utah. He was
Yeah.
against Utah. He was electric, and then you've seen his inexperience the last handful of games. I think I think Florida might get up for this. And you're right. I don't think they'll beat Georgia. I think if it, I'm hoping Billy Napier is the coach we think he is, and I think he's going to have his kids ready to go, ready to face this rival. They have a close drive from Gainesville, so they have a little bit of an inherent advantage there.
Sure.
I think they cover, and I hope they cover.
Hmm.
And I think, like I said, if you're him in this opening year, you had that great Utah you've had since then. If you're
Yeah.
circling games this year, it's like I gotta show up for Georgia. I have to
Yeah.
show up for Florida State, right?
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna have them up and ready. I think Georgia's played no one for too many weeks now,
They ain't played nobody, Paul. They
so
ain't
I
played
think
nobody.
it could be that perfect combination of like, Georgia having to reacclimate themselves to playing an opponent and Florida having nothing to lose.
Yeah, but I mean, like Georgia. So I'm just looking at their scores here to try to figure out how I feel about. Like, I mean, they after stomping the shit out of Oregon and Samford and South Carolina, they beat Kent State 39-22, and they beat Mizzou 26-22.
Almost lost that game. Like
Almost lost that
that
game.
was bad. That
And
wasn't just
then
like, oh, they were in the lead. They were
no,
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 they
no.
were coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, but then they kind of got right. They beat up on Auburn 42-10, and
At
then
home,
just
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they just beat the piss out of Vanderbilt last week, 55-0.
Yeah,
Or
keep in mind.
that was 2 weeks ago. That was 2 weeks ago. And they're coming off a bye. So, I feel like, and when they look at the rest of their schedule, they kind of see like they're ready for this. So I feel like, having that bye really got right against Vandy,
Well, here's
yeah,
the question here, and you probably have this answer because you have it pulled up. Who's next week?
Tennessee. Well, but you come off the bye, but you're coming off the bye, and you're like,
And
okay, I gotta lock it in.
you don't think they're implementing any Tennessee gameplay here? I think this
Ah,
is a typical look ahead, and for a rivalry game that's not really competitive or seen as competitive this year, hasn't been for say 5-6 years. I don't know, man. I think this could be Florida season. Outside of
could
Florida
be,
State, this could be. I'm not saying they're going to win. Like I said, I'm not going to say they're going to win.
but keep it close, get it covered.
Yeah. I
Keep it
mean,
with. I mean, 3 touchdowns is a lot. So
yes, in a rivalry game as well.
yeah,
I think it'll be interesting, but it should be good. I hope it's a good game. I hope that Florida keeps it close. And I hope that we get some sort of pregame pictures of the Or.
that would be pretty dope.
That'd be
It would
sick.
be dope.
Okay, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. Follow us on Instagram at whiskers.whiskies, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Do not forget to check out our Saturday morning bets.
Mm-hmm.
Keep track of our competition here. It's coming down to the wire.
It is.
Mike and I really don't want to lose. I've lost. So the Whiskers and Whiskeys brand do not want to lose to the listeners and give up that customized swag. But we got a competition here heading down the stretch.
Heated.
We will see. So join us next week as we talk about our last ACC SEC in-state rivalry game when we talk about the Palmetto Bowl. So for Mike, I'm EJ. Always remember, too much of anything is bad, but too much good whiskey is barely enough.
Cheers, boys.